And we are live on a Friday. It's Friday Live, and I am here, and I'm going to butcher your name, Arkai. I got your first name. I have no idea how to say your last name, but I'm here with Arkai from India. Tell everyone who you are, Arkai.
Well, first of all, thank you, Stephen, for having me. And hello, everyone. I'm Arka Osora. I'm the founder of Achelis, which is a global brand strategy consultancy. And you can butcher both the names. I'm here to correct you, but I'm the only one in the world. So that's great for SEO and everything. But yeah, I'm someone who is constantly involved in a lot of things that are extremely impact driven and extremely thought disruptive at the same time. So I'm a facilitator, podcaster, a huge dog lover and dog rescuer. So you'll often see dogs running around here, like tails in the back and everything.
Oh, I
But
love that.
someone who yes, but someone who is always here to change perspectives, give a lot of headaches, and always happy when he makes his clients cry for good reasons.
You have such a great energy, Arkai. I love it. And everyone watching, it's my first time meeting Arkai, and just like 2 weeks ago when I looked like shit because I was having an allergy attack, I think I'm having another one. So that's just life. It's okay. We're going to continue on. I am really excited about this topic today. We are going to talk about the 5 secrets to creating a brand strategy that people actually want to use, that organizations can actually implement. Because let me tell you the precipice behind this, Arkai.
Yeah.
I've worked with a lot of startups. I've worked with a lot of organizations that have paid me a lot of money to create strategies and to create strategic, documentation. And it's really disappointing when they just sit on the shelf and they don't get used and they don't get put into market. Like, that sucks.
Yes, that's one of the most annoying things. It's like, we do all this work and everything. And it's not just that we are doing the work, but we're doing it with them. It's a collaborative intention. And sometimes it's just that, they might not have the right resources to execute it, or sometimes they're just not in it that much because of the lack of facilitation that sometimes comes from our end, that we might not have done a good job. That makes them not so associated with the idea. But yeah, it always hurts when you create a strategy with someone, you bring in all that energy, they bring in all the energy, and then they just go into a whole other direction.
Yes, and it happens more often than I'd like to admit at times. And so there's a lot of secrets, right? I'm sure there's a lot of secrets to making it stick.
Yeah.
But I want to start I want to start from a foundational perspective, and I'm curious to get your take on this. For me, the biggest secret is to make sure that you have research that actually and data that actually matters. Right? Like, I think there's a lot of opportunity to get data and to be overwhelmed by numbers, but not every piece of data is actually relevant. What's your take?
I think for me, strategy is something that comes internally first, and then it needs to be driven by data. I think research is extremely crucial. That's like how people have the fights between branding and marketing. Strategists have it with strategy and research, but research is very crucial. I think once you come up with a clear strategy as to who this individual is, what this business is, driven by their core values and everything, that needs to be driven by research so that it is sticking accurately, and they're not just going in blind and executing on things that don't work. I think strategy creates that clarity, but to execute on that, to make sure you're actually very clear and moving in the right direction, you need research. So research is very crucial, and doing the right research is more crucial than anything else. It's not just going be like, oh, I read this thesis, or I read this newspaper article that this is what's happening. So assuming that that works for you, that's the worst thing that can happen.
Right. I think you said something so crucial, and I'm curious what everyone in the audience thinks and who's watching. It's not just about finding data and doing research. It's doing the right research to get the right data.
Yes.
That is extremely crucial. It makes me think about, I don't know if it was Socrates or I forget which one of the prolific thinkers of our day said, it's not just about asking questions, it's about asking the right questions. And I feel like too many times business owners are just asking the wrong questions to themselves.
Yes. I think that's very crucial. And it's not just asking the wrong questions, it's sticking to, in brand strategy, I say this to a lot of my clients. It doesn't matter how you got here. It might not potentially be taking you where you need to be. Sometimes clients believe that, okay, these things have worked for us previously, and so this is what is going to work for us. And the same goes with when they're trying out new things and they're scared. And it's like, just because a previous relationship of yours didn't work out well doesn't mean you stop dating. You still open yourself up to new experiences. So why don't you do the same thing for your business? You can't keep saying that I got burnt previously, so I don't want to try this and everything. Maybe with a previous partner it didn't work out, but that doesn't mean you're not going to try it again. So yeah, it's just the same with strategy, and you need to ask the right questions, and you need to let go of a lot of assumptions and everything.
I really love how you just made a metaphor between branding and dating. Like that is absolutely brilliant. You're right. Like just because you had one bad relationship doesn't mean you stop dating, right? Just because yeah. What's the second secret in your eyes? All right, like this lay it on us, Arkai. Like what's the second secret?
I think the second and the most important, kind of related to the foundation part, is having a clarity on your purpose. And I don't just mean like understanding why you're here and everything, don't just the basic stuff, but a very deep internal clarity. Because once you have a clear alignment in terms of what your purpose is and the direction you want to go in, it helps you position not just your current brand's goals and everything in clarity, but it gives you a direction to scale clearly towards the future. It's like when you get awareness about your purpose and you're like a chess piece on a board, and then the grid activates for you. You're like, okay, these are the directions I can move in, these are the things that make sense. So purpose is a bit overrated right now, because again, brand strategy has become a bit overrated with so many people just adding it as a title for themselves. But the people who truly understand the importance of purpose know that it's not something that can be done in just an hour of a workshop or a 3-minute framework. But the importance of it is that once you become clear about that, the alignment helps you scale in a clearer direction. So
Yeah.
yes, that's the big thing.
I love the analogy you used, right? It's like a chess piece that like the piece moves in the right direction and all of a sudden the whole thing unlocks. Yeah. You said something, Arkai. Brand strategy is overrated. Tell me more.
So not brand strategy, but a lot of people use the word very easily. I personally think strategy is something that cannot be taught. You can learn how to think, and that's what level C does. It teaches you a way of thinking, but it doesn't teach you brand strategy, because it's us who are the strategists. You have a different way to do strategy. I have a different way to do strategy. And even when I collaborate with different strategists or different companies, they bring me on, I ask them, what is the end impact you want? And then I tell them, like, this is how I'll get you there through my approaches. Our approaches might not be the same.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, they think frameworks are the solution to brand strategy. Just identifying basic demographics of your users, putting in 5 attributes of your customers and your business and everything, and then mending a bridge to that. Brand strategy is a lot more deeper, because as beings, we're a lot more deeper. If someone determines us with just our basic factors that are seen on top of us, then that's just letting go of everything on the inside. Like for me, like a lot of people look at me as a guy who wears turtlenecks, has a lot of dogs, and has random headphones from time to time. Same thing if people just say that about you as well. Like if I'm looking at you right now, I'm like, I know this guy loves pizza, I know he has amazing hats, and I know he has an amazing setup, and I love his fashion sense. But that's not all about you, right? There's so much more to you. There's a whole journey. So I think discovering that is very crucial. And so a lot of people, they just be like, oh yeah, I'll make your brand strategy, but I won't even involve you in it. How does that work?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's like you don't like collaboration is so key, right? Like collaboration is the through line that's going to allow. I think we spoke to Bill Kenny. Shout out to Bill on this podcast a couple of weeks ago, live, and we were talking about ways to conquer your rebrand based on his new book. And the best rebrands are the ones that involve the C-suite, that involve the executive leaders, right? So there's no you're not just bringing them in at the end and they're saying, I hate that color, I don't like those words. No, there's ownership there. And I think that's what you're really getting at, right? There's ownership. And by bringing the right stakeholders in, that I think is like the biggest secret. You want a brand strategy that actually works? Work with the fucking ownership team from the get-go.
Absolutely. You wouldn't want to believe an idea or a dream if it's not yours. You want something that feels yours. That's what makes you want to stick with it, associate with it, and rely upon it. If you don't belong to it, then it's not going to stick with you.
I like that, right? You're not going to believe in a dream that isn't yours. That's a really profound quote, Arkai. Where does consistency fall in? Like, how is consistency Is lack of consistency a brand killer in your eyes?
Absolutely. I think a lack of consistency is a brand killer, especially if it's happening way too often. So here's the thing. You meet me today, you meet me after 3 days, you see a couple of videos of mine, and in all of them, you see me in one or the other turtleneck. In all of them, you see dogs around and everything. That's going to form an impression. You see, a lot of people think branding is the famous quote by Jeff Bezos and everything,
Right.
but that's the result of branding. That's the result of good branding. That's not a brand. That's an impact of good brand because it's happening so consistently that that's all they can think about you. If you're a good guy all the time, if you're someone who makes people feel encouraged, safe, and everything, then that's a consistent response that's happening. And that's how they will remember you. So authenticity needs to be followed by consistency. And it's easy to be consistent when you're authentic. But if you're constantly changing, and sometimes it is, it will take time for you to find the right direction, find the right avenue as to how you can express yourself in the best way. But the more you stick to it, the more easier it is, so that in the future when you do make a small change, they're like, wait, did I just see our guy? Why is he not wearing a turtleneck? What's up with him just wearing a regular t-shirt and everything?
Right.
So
Right.
that's very crucial. So yeah.
I true story. A couple of years ago, my wife and I are at a restaurant near our house,
Yeah.
sitting outside, and I wear hats, kind of my
Yeah.
thing, right? And all of a sudden, a gal comes up and she goes, "I know you. You're Steven, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." Now I'm getting freaked out. Like, who the hell are you to say that you know me? She's like, "I was in the level C program with you 2 years ago, and I remember the hat, and you made such an impression, and yada yada yada." And like right
Yeah.
there is the big secret of consistency.
Yeah.
By being by being my authentic true self and sticking with it, and of course I wear different hats and
Yeah.
different shades, but the tonality of it and kind of like the vibe I'm putting out is the same. It's consistent. The brand of me permeated through everything, right? Through a sea of
Yeah.
sameness, she was able to see that. And I think about that archive because, from a brand perspective, listen, there's a lot of options out there.
Yes.
You name a
Absolutely.
category, and there's no category of one. Maybe
Yeah.
Apple's in a category of one, maybe, but like, let's just get Apple out of the equation here. Every category is being disrupted.
Yes.
So speaking of disruption,
Yeah.
when you get approached from founders or from a C-suite and they say, we want to be the next Liquid Death, or we want to be the next, enter disruptive brand here.
Yeah.
How do you help them see the plan to get there?
Oh, I love that you asked this because I've been talking about liquid death so much with a lot of our clients recently. Because that's the thing. Now people talk about liquid death. That wasn't something that people used to bring up. And it's sort of like liquid that's been around for decades. It's a
Right,
very new brand, but
right.
it's the authenticity and consistency. But to create that authenticity, it starts with what we talked about, which is the purpose. If you have a clear alignment with your purpose, you won't just be a new liquid death, you'll be a new you. You'll
Yeah,
position yourself. And to really find that, we need to consider the personality. You need to consider the positioning, which is very much driven. So for me, a brand is your purpose and your personality infused together. Your purpose is something you keep becoming aware of the more you do something. So it's an onion. I keep saying purpose is an onion. The more you do something, the more layers come off. Whereas your personality is something that keeps getting stacked up. We have our cool phase, we have our emo phase, we have some phase that's going on right now. And I don't know what I'll be in like a few years and everything. Our personality is obviously going to change as the lives we live and everything. Whereas the purpose is something we get more deeper to the more we live in the right direction. So when you can find that, regardless of what kind of industry you're in, if you can find out, aside from just the product you're creating, what is your purpose? What is the personality that you're bringing into this? You can change it. And recently we came across a glassware company that was very much in terms of sustainability. Now, initially they wanted to just create themselves as a regular glassware company. And I was like, so here's something, you're just a glassware company, but you're driven by sustainability. That's what drives you. What's your personality? And they're all like these goofy people, and they're just like, they make a lot of jokes and everything. Infuse that and then position yourself. So it's not just a glassware company, but you're a company that's focused on sustainability, that has a great culture, and everything they do is representing that culture. And so then you get to disrupt the market because it's received in a different manner. You're naming your brand identity, everything about you is driven by this purpose and this clarity of your personality. Because when these two are infused, the product is acting as an addition or an extension of your brand, but it's not your entire brand. So just like
Right.
Liquid Death, all of their ads are weird. Their recent ad makes me laugh a lot, and it has nothing directly to do with creating just reducing plastic waste and everything, but it is their personality. It's talking about how water plays a huge role in workouts and everything. It's fun, it's stupid, it's weird. That's what stands out. That's why people remember, they talk about it. They go and buy a $5 can at a pub instead of just drinking free water and everything, because they are focusing on their purpose, and that is driving their way of representation, how they want to be perceived. That is being driven by their culture, their purpose, and their personality infused together.
So many great takeaways here to everyone listening out there. If you have any questions for Arkai, please put it in the chat because there was a lot there. One of the things that you said was around this idea of purpose plus personality, right? The personality is going to change, right?
Yeah.
And of course it is, right? Like, you know, it has to, right? You don't want, you don't want a personality that is the same as it was in 1984. It's irrelevant. It's tone deaf. This makes me think about this notion of getting away from rigid brand guidelines and starting to adopt an operating system for your brand, an operating system that is more flexible, that is more fluid, that is going to grow not just with the brand and the product and how the products grow, but it's going to grow with the audience because the audience is going to change. Where do you think this idea of flexibility fits within brand strategy?
I think it's very important because just like how we are dynamic beings, our brand is a dynamic being as well. Our users are going to be dynamic because even if, let's say, someone buys a product of Apple 5 years ago and now they have changed, but if there's still an association, it's because Apple is changing with them. While their product values and deliverables might not be changing that much and everything,
Yeah.
the way they're marketing themselves is changing. Like Work From Home, their amazing series, it started out as an ad, and now every time they want to launch a product, it's around this TV show they have created, a sitcom they have created for themselves called the Work From Home series. But previously there was no Work From Home, so they wouldn't market it like that.
Yeah.
Their positioning needs to change. So I think fluidity needs to be created when you're building a brand itself. And I think that's how personality plays a huge role. Knowing your personality and knowing the direction you will be going further as well. And I think your use of OS is amazing because that's the thing. It's not just going to be rigid with these guidelines, but your guidelines need to act as guides, not restraints. So yeah.
Right, right. Then there's the key part, right? They need to act as guides, not restraints. I
Yeah.
think too many brands invest in branding, receive guidelines, and that's what scares them. That the restraint that they feel is there's a couple reasons why I think that brand strategy documents end up on the bottom of the hard drive, but I think that that might be one of them. It's an interesting concept to think about, right? The strategy documents that organizations pay for often get put on the bottom of the hard drive. We talked about it a little bit in the beginning on how much that just fucking sucks. As us, as a practitioner, as us, as like a steward of brand. And then we started to talk about ways that we can counteract that. Number one, getting the C-suite involved from the very beginning. Let me ask you something, Arkai. Is that like a mandatory when you get into a client engagement? Like, do you have to?
Oh, absolutely. If you are a one-person team, that's great. If you're a three-people team, I need all those three people there because I personally believe that when it comes to a business, it's the mixture of the different identities and different purposes of all the people coming together. And so it's the alignment that is going to build the identity of this business. It's a shell that is going to be fueled by these people. And so you need to find that alignment, or that's what happens with so many businesses that hire CMOs and so many other people. They hire these fractional consultants, but nothing happens because the marketing is moving in one direction, the product is moving another direction, and the CEO is trying to tell a story that might not be true anymore. So when you all the C-suite people are in alignment, and it's a purpose and the way you both overlap and everything, or you three or you five people overlap, That's how you can create that clear alignment in terms of what your brand is. And internal alignment is what gives you that direction to scale further.
I think the internal alignment is what makes brand strategy work. Like,
Absolutely.
I think
Yeah.
that's like the biggest thing. Think about, and I've worked on organizations before where um, I had to work with a CMO who
Yeah.
didn't necessarily have all the buy-in from the CEO.
Yeah.
Definitely didn't have the buy-in of the sales stuff. Like, it was just a disjointed effort. And really, now that I kind of think about it, it was an ego play from the CMO to try to make themselves seem important. Because, like you said, oftentimes, let's just be the tenure of a CMO is like 18 months now, 15 months. So they're trying to go in, make the biggest impact possible, and
Yeah.
hopefully it works. But I'm going back to it. I'm going to go back to it. Like, we don't need 5 secrets to make a brand strategy work. I think there's the one secret. And I think it comes back to that word alignment. Like, everyone internally
Yeah.
needs to be bought in, and there needs to be that champion from the
Yeah.
top. And that champion's the CEO or someone on the C-suite.
Absolutely. Because the thing is, if you don't have alignment, then you start creating things you think is going to be great, but they end up acting as constraints instead of opportunities. So they end up blocking you where you are, and hence you're not able to move forward. So I think having that internal alignment is very crucial if you want to scale further.
What do you say to a now I'm just curious.
Yeah.
You're very articulate, Arkai, and you're extremely smart when it comes to branding. So someone says, Arkai, I'm not buying it. I don't brand strategy is not going to help my business. I need to sell my product today.
Hmm.
What do you say?
If you want to sell something today, then if you want something today, then brand strategy won't help you, because it won't, like, unless you're like extremely confused as to what to sell. Brand strategy will give you an idea about what you can potentially do. But if you want to scale in the future, that's where brand strategy plays, because to even implement something as complex as brand strategy, it's not a quick fix solution. I work with so many people who come into like consultations with me, and they're like, can you give me an actionable tip though? Can you tell me what I can do right now? I'm like, look, I can give you sales tips, I can give you business tips, but that's just limited growth. It's just gonna be instant gratification. For that, you can hire a sales guy, you can hire someone to run growth marketing campaigns for you. If you want brand strategy to compound your organic growth, to compound your overall scalability and visibility, which is what happens with Liquid. That, like, I'm in India. Liquid, that ads don't even play over here, but I'm aware of it. I know a huge audience that is aware of it. So that's the thing. Like, to be able to scale that overall consistency and the clarity, you need to work, and strategy needs to take time. It takes time to both internalize it and then execute it, because then it'll give you the direction. Like, I've had clients who sit with me in the strategy call, and then they start taking notes and everything, and I know what they're taking these notes for. They're taking these notes because now they have ideas as to what they can create, and that happens because you have strategy. But if you want instant gratification, if you want to sell if you want like a roadmap on how to sell things right after this call, so that you get on like 3 calls and you sell it, yeah, you can come to me for business tips and everything. I'll give you all of those things, but brand strategy is not going to do that for you.
Think about Marty Neumeyer's definition of brand strategy, right? It's that long-term plan to outmaneuver the competition through radical differentiation, right? So, like, think about the first 3 words: long-term plan, right? That is what brand strategy is. And you said it brilliantly. Like, if you want that instant gratification, you need to sell products now. Let me introduce you to someone who does paid ads, and you can go the paid ads route, because it's probably one of the most, stupid proof ways to somehow get traffic to your website. Not saying you're going to convert. You could have a huge messaging problem, which, partly is part strategic.
Yeah.
But like, it is that long-term plan.
Yeah.
Arkai, what else do you need or want to tell the listeners? Like, what other secrets do you think that we may have missed before we wrap up?
There are 2 things that I think is very crucial when it comes to doing brand strategy. Never come in with assumptions. Never assume this is what will work for your clients. Neither assume that this won't work for your clients. A lot of times people have a great discovery call, and they think they pick up on their clients' personalities and what will work for them. And so then they try to make their clients fit into these ideas. Or they have a crappy discovery call, and then they just assume that, you know what, this business is not going to grow. This business doesn't want to grow. This business is old school and everything. You never know. You need to do a good strategy call, because that's how you do that introspection. Strategy is all about introspection. It's like a therapy call. And so
It
to
is.
get that done, you can't come in with assumptions. Because if you're coming in with assumptions, you're trying to make them fit into an idea that you believe. And so now you're just making them think that this is what works and everything else doesn't. And then that's argumentative. You're trying to just
Yeah.
argue with them. And everything you'll do is like, okay, no, 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 you need to do this. You need to do that. But if you come in with an open mind and just have a good conversation with them, because you can't start, like, I think personally, brand strategy cannot start in the format we always prefer. Sometimes I talk about something else and we start with some different stage of brand strategy, because we need to get them into that. It's a conversation starter. It needs to work in a random dynamic format. So just that, to be able to do that, you cannot come in with assumptions to create a great strategy. You need
You
to
know
just
what? You know what the term assume means, right?
yeah, like just assuming something.
Well, no, assume means if you assume something, you might be making an ass out of you and me. It's an acronym. And that might
I
just
had no
be
idea about that.
that might be very
That's
regional.
something I learned. I learned that today.
Yeah, so like assume ASS you and me. You're making an ass out of you and me because you're coming in like with these assumptions. And that's such a brilliant, brilliant piece of advice is you don't want to jade the strategy work by assumptions, by thinking about, we've always done it this way. That's why it has to be done. So brilliant. What's the second one?
The second one is focus on culture more than a visual identity. If you
Yeah.
can, yeah, a brand's culture is more important than anything else, because visual identities are external and they will change. They will constantly change. You're not limited by your colors. You're not limited by the fonts. They will change as you grow and everything. Brands that are like, we never expected Apple to use green, but then when they became with the mission of being more sustainable, you see green come up a lot more. Apple has multiple colors, and even the products change the design. Not that much, but the designs do change. And now we have the Apple UI identity and we assume it to be in a certain manner. But it's your culture of any business. If you can first create a good brand culture, that is what is going to amplify, because the culture is going to attract the right people. Because we live in a world right now where people don't join companies for just high pay, but they join companies because they want to be part of the revolution that's taking place. And I
Yeah.
think AI played a very good role with that, because people started applying to jobs, not just because they're like, oh, this is AI and everything and it's high paying, but because they knew that this company is doing something in the AI space and I want to contribute to that.
Yeah.
I want to be a part of that mission. So if you can create a good brand culture, because people quit people, just like how people work with people, people quit people. People never quit companies. They quit people. They quit a bad manager. They quit a bad CEO who's not aligned with their values. So you need to create a good culture first, because that is what's going to be amplified. That is what's going to be represented with your voice, with your ads, with your visual identity, with ads, and anything else you put out there. It's going to be an extension of your culture.
Brilliantly said. And I wholeheartedly agree. And I think that within the branding industry,
Yeah.
this is our call to action to make a better culture, right? Within branding and not be so reliant on trying to find templates and frameworks and other the shit that doesn't work. We need to, we're like-minded folks. So, Arkai, kudos to you. You have dropped bombs today, and in the good sense. Man, it was a horrible thing for me to say. I think in this right now, I think it was that was tone deaf of me to say. I'm taking that one on the chin, but I really appreciate you joining us today for Friday Lives. It's this new thing we're doing with Branders Magazine. If you're not aware, what does Dom say? Dom says in the chat, yes, companies are people as are brands. It's all about people, right? Like Arkai, all about the relationships that brands can build externally and internally, right?
Absolutely, because if the people in your company don't align with you, if they don't agree with you, they're gonna hate you. They're gonna fight you, and they'll constantly try to leave. And that's what happens in a lot of toxic work cultures, because there's no alignment, there's no clarity, and hence people come into one assumptions that yeah, they're gonna have a great career, but then they're dropped down by bad managers who don't fit the company's culture,
Right,
who
right.
bring the entire reputation down. So yeah.
I've been saying this for years. Good company culture is not free beer on Fridays. It's not a ping pong table. It's not dogs. As much as I love dogs, but that doesn't create culture. Culture is created by the actions that are done inside the walls and the leadership that is exuded by not just leadership, but by everyone. Those shared values.
Yes,
Arkai,
absolutely.
how can where do you live on the internet? What are your URLs, or where can people engage with you?
So LinkedIn is the best place to find me, but as I said, I'm the only one in the world. So even if you just type Arkai or Soara, you don't even need to just type it on social media. Just Google me, and you'll get all my links and everything. So that's
We
the best place to
share
find
that.
me.
I am the only Stephen Picanza in the world, so we share
Yeah,
that. It's great, bro. Our parents knew what they were doing when they named us. They were like, they're gonna have a
yeah.
great personal brand.
Yes, that's the thing. So like it's a great icebreaker. People ask me what does that mean and everything, and then the conversation just keep going. So yeah, just look me up, and that's one of the best places to get in touch with me. And if you want to work with me, well, there's so many ways you can work with me. If you are listening to this live and in this quarter of the end of 2023, then reach out. We always do a lot of discounts to help a lot of small businesses who can't always afford premium agencies because the holiday seasons are here and we want to give. So we reduce our prices by like 50, 60%, to be honest. And if you're a company that is scaling but can't again afford a branding agency that will charge you like $300,000 and above, then you can bring me on as a fractional CBO, not a CMO that's just going to make huge impact and everything, but a fractional CBO on a subscription model. And then you can work with me based upon your current challenges. Even if you're a branding agency and you have a good project going on, and you need someone who's going to think in a disruptive manner, like I just did, bring me on.
I mean, compelling offer right there. VJ says, unless you have a seat at the table, BS is nigh on impossible to make an impact. I'm not really sure what you're saying, VJ, but I just wanted to call you out and say, yes, bullshit is very much runs rampant in company culture. It's something that we're all dealing with. For more on Branders Magazine, go to brandersmagazine.com. I think our latest issue is about to hit the shelves any day now, or maybe not really sure. And for more on the Talking with Branders podcast, we're on all the fancy stations. And if you want to get in touch with me, I'm at StephenPicanza.com. You can find everything you need there. Catalina, she says, thank you both. Great insight. So she's really talking to you, Arkai. I'm just here to, wear a hat and facilitate the conversation. You're the one who had all the great insight.
I mean, it's the facilitator, right? Like, if you're not a good facilitator as strategist, we can't get all the answers we need. We can't create that great experience. So kudos to you as well, man.
I think I read this in Think and Grow Rich or How to Win Friends and Influence People, but Charles Schwab was the first, Charles Schwab was the first person to have $1 million salary. And when Dale Carnegie and hired him, they were interviewing him, and he said, it's not because I'm the most brilliantly financial person out there. It's for none of those reasons. It's because I know how to lead people. All right. And that is such an underrated skill that as our world becomes so much more reliant on AI and technology, the soft skills that make people and human beings interesting and great is what's going to be valuable, right? So, Arkai, thank you again, sir. I'm humbled to have you on. Thanks to everyone in the chat, everyone watching live, everyone watching as a replay. And until next time, brandersmagazine.com. We'll see you.
It was great being here, and I loved it.
Cheers. Ciao.